This is Larry Jordan, the host of the Digital Production Buzz. The following interview is an excerpt from a recent program. To hear the entire program, visit digitalproductionbuzz.com. Editor and writer Brady Betzel has been working in television for over 10 years, starting as an intern on the daily talk show On Air with Ryan Seacrest. Today, Brady primarily works in Avid Media Composer Symphony Systems and Adobe After Effects with a smattering of Cinema 4D. He's going to be at the next Editor's Lounge presenting an interesting concept, which is 3D modeling and animation for reality TV. Hello, Brady. Welcome.
Hey, how's it going?
We are talking to you. We are doing great. Tell us about what a typical editing project is for you, because I have a very hard time putting together the concept of 3D animation and reality TV. So talk to us, what are you doing?
Well, it's funny. When I was coming up as an assistant editor, I noticed a lot of shows had just plain slates. And that kind of got me thinking, I think there's something better we can do. And I also needed a niche to get myself in the door as a real editor. And I worked on a lot of reality TV shows. And I just thought, you know what? I need to bury my head in After Effects, Cinema 4D, and set myself apart. And it seemed, after about 100 tutorials, I started making some cool titles and stuff people seem to grab onto.
Well, cool titles with Cinema 4D is an understatement. That's like, man, massive piece of gear. But before we get into that, I want to come back to the whole idea of editing reality TV. I mean, these shows have got massive deadlines, way too much footage, and not a whole lot of money to work with. Can you even afford to do any kind of special look with a reality budget and reality deadline?
Yeah, that's funny. As budgets are getting really tight, as you probably know, and so they want interns to do Photoshop or whatever they want to do that's crazy, and a lot of editors that have been around a while kind of don't like. It's kind of weird. I'm in a weird spot because I'm in between the stage where the older editors don't want to do the graphics. The younger editors are so good that they're better than almost everybody that's out there right now. So I have to learn every day how to make this cool stuff. And like you said, the budgets are small. So as an editor, I need to learn the tools that are the quickest. And Cinema 4D is quick, but I also like to use a program called After Effects with Andrew Kramer's Element 3D. And that thing is how I do stuff fast.
Now, when we're talking 3D, are we talking stereoscopic 3D, the special little glasses? Are we just talking world building and creating entire environments? Or are we just looking at moving text in a 3D environment?
A lot of in 3D environments, not stereoscopic. That would be really cool, though. I'm not opposed to doing some 4D, 3D stuff. That'd be awesome.
And describe a typical project. Give me an effect that you work with, and walk me through your workflow and the software you're using, and what are you trying to achieve?
Sure. So like I was saying earlier, a lot of opening titles to shows a few years ago were very plain, and I just thought that a lot of people haven't seen what you can do with 3D like text and 3D elements inside of the reality shows. So typically it would be like a cold open to a show where they would need to either introduce characters or review the last episode's storyline. And some of the shows I've worked on allowed for a lot of leeway in terms of creativity. So I could come up with I don't even know, just crazy, huge text where people on green screens could walk in front of, and it was really up to my imagination. So typically I would watch some footage that they wanted me to use, and my crazy brain would just go into After Effects and just start creating my own worlds of text and using ramp and design tools, just throw some crazy lens flares and dust and fire. I mean, I'm kind of oversimplifying it, but it is just me, a kid playing with some crayons and markers in the end.
Yeah, but speaking of playing with crayons and markers and doing all those wonderful things that you are doing, do you ever get stopped by the producers that you're working for saying, yeah, maybe a little bit less is more?
Yes. It's funny. They kind of let these days with the budgets are so small, you don't really have much time for notes. So it's either kind of
Really?
like, yes, we like it, no, we don't. When they say no, we don't, that's obviously that kind of stuff. But that's happened once, and I kind of had to start from scratch. But usually you can get by.
You were talking about the fact that you start with After Effects and start to play in your sandbox until something shows up. When do you use After Effects, and when do you use Cinema 4D?
Cinema 4D isn't as quick. I'm not as quick in Cinema 4D, but it's, as you know, it's a complex program. You can do some amazing stuff, and if I have maybe two to 4 weeks to do something, then I'll jump in Cinema 4D. If I have an hour or maybe a day, then I use After Effects just because it flies.
So what are some of your favorite effects inside After Effects? What do you grab first?
I love Element 3D, the plugin, like I was saying, from Video Copilot.
Yeah.
But a lot of text, a lot of Sapphire plugins are pretty awesome. Boris obviously has some great stuff. But just glows and Element 3D really is it. I love it because Element 3D allows you to bring in 3D objects, 3D models like in Cinema 4D into After Effects and use them very fast and put some materials on them. And it really can make a boring title or a boring bumper or a boring lower third. It makes it really sing.
How important is it for young editors to know everything? I mean, you know After Effects now, you know Cinema 4D, you're familiar with all the wonderful plugins out there, and you can edit. but you know everything, and they expect you to know everything. They expect you to know sound. They expect you to know music. They expect you to know After Effects and all these other things that you know to get that leg up. And how important is that?
It's actually very important, and it's weird because, like I was talking earlier, a lot of people don't like me doing what I do because it diminishes the craft of editing, I guess. It's tricky, though, because you have to know everything, or else the guy who doesn't want to know After Effects or doesn't want to jump in and use Photoshop, they're going to be out of a job when there's a 14-year-old kid on YouTube making stuff that's way better that's on TV.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things
I'm glad I'm not starting out nowadays.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's just I want to tell stories. I don't want to have to do all that crap that you're doing. I mean, it's not crap, but it's
a lot of people talk like that, and I also agree that story is king always. And unfortunately, though, with budgets being so tight, there's no room for graphics departments. So if you really want to become the lead editor or become an editor from being an assistant editor, you got to show where you're worth. And for me, that was where it was.
But Mike, I was just thinking, it isn't that he is telling stories with 3D. He's capturing the viewer's attention with the open. You're trying to use 3D.
No, not to saying that what he's not doing is creative, and but I don't know. I wish you didn't have to know all this stuff.
Well, he hasn't mentioned audio. He's mentioned Cinema 4D, and he's mentioned, so there's hope for people that just do audio.
All right, you have to do you have to do sound design too.
Typically, yeah. I mean, it's a big weird world because if you send out a rough cut that doesn't sound good, the producers could think you're not a good editor. So you clearly have to know how to ride levels on your music and your sound effects and this and that, and dialogue's got to punch through, and you want stereo music. Some editors I've seen leave music centered, so it doesn't sound as good if it's stereo while the dialogue's centered. I mean, you got to know a lot.
Oh, yeah.
But that's not to discourage anybody because it's fun.
Okay, as long as you're having fun, as long as you think it's creative, no, that's terrific. I mean, that's absolutely terrific.
I was just thinking, listening to you, why would you not describe yourself as a visual effects artist? Why do you describe yourself as an editor? Because aren't you really concentrating on the artistic side of putting these titles and 3D things together?
Yeah, kind of. It's funny, though, because there's not as much room for visual effects departments at reality companies or docudrama, whatever you want to call it. And so you have to be the editor and, like you said, know everything else. So I just happen to know a little bit more about visual effects than a lot of editors. And I have friends that do visual effects for a living, and I touch what they do.
Mm-hmm.
So
By the way,
I mean, they're amazing.
By the way, Grant, in our live chat, there's been a great discussion between Caesar and Eric and Grant for the last couple of minutes, but Grant writes that it's very important that editors need to know more than one application. It happens to him every day. He has to know everything from lighting to sound to camera work, editing, post-production, delivery issues, as well as be a script editor and director. So wearing multiple hats exists all over the world because Grant's based in Australia.
Oh, yeah, and it's crazier. If you want to get crazier, assistant editors have one of the hardest jobs in the world right now because they're DITs, they're trying to be creative editors, and it's a mess, kind of.
And they need to know spreadsheets and FileMaker Pro, and it's like, oh, my goodness.
And deal with people like me.
And deal with people like you.
And speaking of people like you, Brady, I just realized that in addition to your editing and all of your artistic skills, you also are a contributing editor for Post Perspective. Am I remembering that correctly?
That is correct.
Oh, cool.
When do you have time to write?
That's a good question, too. I really have to wake up early and fit it in if I get to work too early, because I commute about an hour to Hollywood from Thousand Oaks. So if I get to work early enough, I fit in 10 minutes of reviews, or on the weekends, if my wife and my children let me, I do an hour of testing here or there.
Oh, my God. You got to do the 101 5 days a week. I mean, oh, my.
He was the lead.
I take the 118 sometimes.
Oh, okay.
Brady was the lead story in this week's Post Perspective. So it was a review of a new piece of software, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, and I love Randy, so I would do a lot for her.
Yeah, she's good folks. There's no question.
Yeah,
thinking of mentoring and training and writing and stuff, you're going to be speaking at the Editor's Lounge coming up. What are you going to be talking on?
Yeah, I'm going to be kind of going over what I was discussing, the visual effects and reality TV, because Cinema 4D has a cool new release that has some really easy things you can do. Like, for instance, there's a house builder, and you can quickly build a 4-bedroom house in Cinema 4D, put some textures on it, render it out, and you can have, for those shows that like design houses or do house walkthroughs, you can have it done maybe in 2 hours if you're moderately.
Have you seen that, Larry? Have you seen that? Matthias showed me that at NAB. It is remarkable. It is absolutely.
Yeah, it really is.
It is remarkable, and you'll see it on all these house and garden TV shows very soon. I guarantee you.
Yeah, and that's where someone like me can come in. If I know the house builder, I could have a job on those shows for months.
Yeah, you could host them. You can be one of the Property Brothers.
That'd be great.
Are you going to be showing examples, or are you going to be showing how the software works? Is this a training exercise for people to learn software, or a chance to show and tell some of your work?
I'm going to be showing kind of how to build that house in Cinema 4D real quick, and then probably jump over to After Effects and show just a few things that if you're the editor that's like, I don't know if I want to do graphics, that's just too much time. I can maybe show them, hey, in 30 minutes you can make something that is a lot better than a black and white plate.
How important is it for people out there, sort of not just starting out, the people who absolutely know something, is to share their work like you do on sites that you share your work on? I mean, I think it's hugely important.
I agree. I think paying it forward gets me further than any work I do or anything. So, like teaching interns or assistant editors or anything I know, for some reason it reinforces it in myself, and it really just paying it forward helps the whole community.
Yeah, it's like you learn so much by teaching.
I agree.
You also learn what you don't know when you're teaching.
That's right.
Yeah.
Brady, Caesar on the live chat's asking what software you edit on.
I've been Avid. I'll say Avid. I do a little bit of Premiere, and Final Cut I've dabbled in, but every job I've had has been Avid.
And the integration between After Effects and Avid is straightforward?
There is none. It's basically you would export a high-res QuickTime, and if you have channels, bring them along. This Avid can even import it, which it can't do pre-multiplied. So that's another discussion, I think.
That's a
Yeah, it's a little dicey.
No, that's a tutorial, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Now, some good ones, if anyone's looking for Mark. Kevin P. McAuliffe does a few good ones,
Yeah.
and Andrew Kramer has a host of great, simple tutorials to take a look at.
Thinking of tutorials and learning and teaching, in the time that we've got left, what tips do you have for people who consider themselves editors to enhance their graphic skills without necessarily spending their entire life becoming a visual artist? What are the key things that you find the market needs, that are skills that people should develop?
I think the easiest ones are watching the shows that have some cool cold opens with title cards. Like History Channel and Discovery Channel, they have some amazing stuff if you really break it down. There's a show called Naked and Afraid that has some, I think, day numbers that are composited over live shots that are really incredible. And it's really not that hard. If you find the right tutorials, you could probably accomplish learning it in like 1 or 2 hours.
Okay, not me.
We'll give you.
Yeah, you could.
No, not me. No, it ain't gonna happen. I can tell a story. I can't do Cinema 4D. I can't do it. I mean,
you can do anything you put your mind to.
Yeah, that's what they say. Okay. It's like it's 12-step program.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Brady, what projects are you working on now? What's got your attention?
At the moment, I'm an online editor, and I've been trying to focus like my reviews and stuff towards the color correction software. So I'm really interested in looking at DaVinci Resolve 12. I think they're going to send me at some point, and really dive into another facet of post-production that I've never seen.
Yeah, well, of course, DaVinci Resolve 12 now, you can just edit your own movie and do your color correction, and you can do everything in that thing.
Yeah, I saw, they gave me a little tutorial, and I'll tell you what, that is starting to look like what Symphony should have become.
Yeah, well, it's free.
Yeah, there's that.
Brady, where can we go on the web to learn more about the kind of work you're doing? Do you have your own personal website?
No, I don't really do the personal thing.
Oh,
I
you
tried
should.
that, but I don't know. Twitter's good. And also, if you just Google my name on or search my name on Post Perspective or Post Magazine, you can see some articles I do on there.
See, Mike, he doesn't do everything. He doesn't do web
right.
design.
I
he
feel
doesn't.
a little bit better that he doesn't know everything.
I tell you what, though, Twitter takes up at least an hour a day in the morning of promoting myself. Holy moly.
Yeah, well, we'll put a website up and promote yourself there. But anyway, I will see you at Editor's Lounge because I'm looking forward to seeing your presentation.
And when is the presentation for people that want to see it?
It's going to be Friday, May 29th, and it's hosted at Alpha Dog in Burbank.
And bring your own wine.
Oh, bring your own.
Apparently, yeah. My wife was like, BYOB, what is that about?
Yeah, well, that's what it's about.
Apparently, I might have to...
No, you got to bring your own wine, otherwise they won't let you appear.
Oh, all right, I'm in.
All right, there you go.
Brady, thanks so much for joining us. Good success on your career, and we'll keep reading you in Post Perspective. Thanks for joining us today.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Brady.
Bye-bye.
Bye.